in case you have any questions. I like clean applications, so if I can address any issues.
Like we're government contractors, but we all like clean proposals and clean applications and make sure everything's in compliance. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that, and yes, I will take you up on that.
Do we have any other questions on principal office besides 35% ownership control?
Is your office involved in goaling programs for agencies to meet contracting goals?
Yes, but we haven't. HUBZone has not met their goals.
I'm asking because there was I spoke to a government employee who works in the small business office mm-hmm. this week, mm-hmm. and they sort of had some pushback with regard to making things HUBZone set-asides versus 8A set-asides. And the feedback was very interesting because they were saying that, they think it's less risky to do an 8A set-aside mm-hmm. versus a HUBZone set-aside, because they said one day a company might be HUBZone, tomorrow, through the recertification process, mm-hmm. during the period of performance of the contract, they might not be.
They might not be. Right.
And I said, well, isn't the same thing true for 8A? I mean, companies that are 8As, they might get a contract award on their last year of eligibility, but if it's a 5-year contract, does the government agency still get the small or 8A credit for 8A? And by the same token, do they still get HUBZone credit in the same situation if they lose HUBZone certification?
I think it depends on how far along you are in the contract.
Right, in the contract.
And the contracting officer would make that
decision.
Make that determination. Mm-hmm. But I've been doing this kind of work since the earth cooled. It's a gamble with all of us, and with all of the programs. When you have these, small business programs, minority business programs, women-owned programs, you will always have companies that when they apply, they're eligible. But anything could happen. They could be found non-compliant on the contract. Mm. It could be some illegal things going on, and they can no longer participate in the contracting arena. So it's always, it's always that scenario. But one of the things with the HUBZone program, and when you are welcomed into the program, in your letter it states that you have to, in a good faith effort, make a good faith effort to make sure that you meet that 35% and you're in compliance with the requirements of the program. And the same thing with 8A. So, it's all laid out there. And as the gentleman said earlier, it's up to you to make sure you create the matrix for your business and you're able to keep everything going, the way that it should be. I've seen a lot of companies do 8A, and after the 8A program, their businesses go down the tubes. So it's all about just keeping your business afloat, as you should as a business owner, whether you're a part of HUBZone 8A or any of the other programs. You have to make sure you have everything in place so that you can keep your business going.
It's not an uncommon problem you mentioned too, is that when people graduate or companies graduate from the 8A program, so accustomed to the program, the benefits of the program in their business. They've got a lifestyle business, they're doing very well. They come to that last year or two of graduation, and they have no plans on how to compete in a full and open world. And the road's littered with companies that didn't plan ahead. So.
But that doesn't mean that the 8A program is a bad program. It's an excellent program. But it's like anything else, it's how you make these programs work for you. Mm-hmm. How you get out there and market your business. You can be HUBZone certified, but if you don't go out there and market your business, you're just HUBZone certified. Right. So you have to make it work for you.
8A is a 9-year run from the day you certify. So a lot of times companies are saying, I wish I waited another year or two before I applied because I was just building my business at that point in time. But HUBZone's HUBZone. Right. The only way if you can be redistricted, you can grow out of it. You can be non-compliant with the 35%. There are a lot of different ways to fall out of a particular program if we're not diligent and committed to the program. So it's a very good point. But I was out there when the earth cooled, and I didn't see you
there. So. Just a point. I know, obviously, we're all probably think all small business here, but the point I'll make about HUBZone is that as we meet with our customers, our clients, and talk about HUBZone and engage, what's interesting is, and I didn't see it as much with 8A. I'm seeing it more with HUBZone and Service Disabled, maybe the smaller programs. But our customers they want to know that we're not just checking a box. And so we've had a lot of conversations about what does HUBZone really mean, and what's our strategy to support the program. And so I'll just say that because I know obviously it's a way to differentiate, it's a way to filter, it's a way to get it work. But when I talked about the strategy of growth and really thinking about how you're going to maintain that, we've had questions posed about what's our approach and what's our strategy. So just think about that. Obviously, you can check the box, get the application in, and you're there. But I think the sustainability of it for us is really important because we've had customers actually talk to us about that, which we appreciate, that people are really buying into the program. So just want to make that.
Well, HUBZone can also be a short-term existence, if you will, for one of two reasons. Either they don't pay attention to the HUBZone requirements, or, not to cite like a Microtech example, but if a HUBZone wins a lot of big contracts, but they're doing it because they've got a lot of big companies working behind the HUBZone, they can graduate from small business in a real quick hurry.
Is it possible to, let's say you exceed the 35% and you lose your certification, if something happens and you are back down to the correct percentage, can you regain your certification? Or once you're out, you're out?
Only if you're working on a contract.
What does that mean?
Reapply in 90
Yeah,
days.
you can reapply in 90 days, but
The eligibility criteria.
yeah, but we will give you time only if you're working on a HUBZone contract.
Oh, okay. A prime contract? Because let's say you're a sub to a large business and you go from 50 employees where 35% is in the principal office to 250 on that one particular contract. And let's say somewhere along the line the work stops. Can you?
It doesn't apply to subcontractors. They don't have that option to attempt to maintain.
Right.
So does that mean that the large business no longer can claim HUBZone credit?
The large program can say they're attempting to maintain. However, they have to show us that, hey, we advertise for, positions for employees that live in qualified HUB zones. They have to show that they're actively searching for HUB zone employees. But attempt to maintain does not apply to subcontractors.
So attempt to maintain is on the as a prime. Okay, as a HUBZone in and of itself as a prime. Okay.
So if you lose a certification, you can reapply in 90 days, but only if you are working on an active contract?
No.
Okay, I misunderstood.
If you're not working on a contract and you fall out of compliance, you don't meet that 35% requirement, then you can reapply in 90 days if you meet that minimum eligibility.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, gotcha.
And then that also gets into protests. Say if Daryl bid and if Derek bid on like the same contract, Daryl wins. Daryl's firm does not meet it. Derek's sending the protest. And if we come out and if we find that Daryl's firm does not meet it, Daryl's out of the HUBZone program.
Yeah, when you spend a few minutes on that third bullet, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that. Can you explain what that means?
What's the foreign open?
About the PEP?
That's not really our area. That's our contracting folks area. Unless Tracy or Takesha, do you know anything?
I know that it's one of the protest questions.
Right, it's one of the protest questions.
Slide to your,
Right.
to your base bid, your bid price.
Right.
If you're HUBZone.
So if I'm a
That's up to the
HUBZone,
contracting officer as to whether or not they're gonna, have that in the particular bid solicitation.
so does this mean if I'm a HUBZone and I'm bidding on a full and open competition, my proposal will receive a 10%?
Correct. And if Derek is not HUBZone, then you will get an extra
Well,
10%.
it really all ties back to the contracting officer's determination of what their evaluation criteria is. So if they were, you know, on simplest terms, if it was an LPTA and your price was just 9% higher than somebody who was full and open and not HUBZone, you would get a 10%, you know, advantage, you would. But that's the only clearest way on an evaluation, because, you know, how are you going to evaluate 10% on a technical or, you know, performance-based contracting, or even something as detailed as that? It's nice to get the bump, but I would imagine, not having gotten one, but how do you evaluate what that 10% is? And it's really hard to protest there unless it's really strict on the evaluations. But that's the CO, not SBA.
And then if you send in a protest, you just can't say, well, Daryl's firm does not meet it. You're going to have to tell us why. Would you know that, you know, why Daryl's firm does not meet it? Like, you may tell us that his office is, you know, really here, but he's saying that his office is here. So you have to tell us why.
Is there a legal requirement today in place for federal agencies to spend a certain percentage of contracting dollars on hub zones?
There is, but I don't think there's any penalty to not meeting it.
So there's not a legal requirement, there's a recommendation.
I think it is legal, right?
The goal is the legal goal, but it's, you know, if each agency, you know, it's our intent, it's our hope that they will make a good faith effort to meet the goal.
But there's no penalty.
3%.
3% for each agency. And so that's why we have PTACs out there in the field, and they market all the programs, you know, and try to make sure that those agencies meet that requirement. Most of the larger government agencies have obstacles offices, where that's the small business offices, and so they interact with the PTACs, which are procurement representative, PCRs, I'm sorry. PCRs, procurement individuals who, for example, we may have, they're SBA employees, but we have them filtered throughout the various government agencies as well. So they work with those small business offices at the Department of Transportation. They sit at the table, and so when those contracts are drafted up, the language goes in, they say what they're looking for, and they can actually say, when a contract goes out, say if it's in the area of construction, the PCR will say, I know that I have companies that are HUBZone certified companies that can bid on this. So it's you know, it's a lot of interaction there. We recommend that businesses, when they're interested in doing business with the federal government, that they, on our website, we have a list of PCRs out there. We have PTAC offices as well. And these individuals are the individuals who, again, promote, or I should say emphasize, you know, whether or not we have businesses in a particular area. Even if it's an 8A contract, they're saying that, you know, we have 8A firms that do this. So they're at the table with the small business representatives in the various government offices.
There's some agencies that are very diligent on it, that when the component puts in a request, it goes to the CO immediately hands it over to the SADBU for market survey. Can it be done by small? Can it be done by this? Because the agency, and I've been told this by the acquisition folks, they almost have to write like a sole source justification of why something has to go full and open and not dedicated to agency goals. And some agencies the SADBU is actually going with the secretary to places higher up the chain to report on their progress against goals. So some are more diligent than others.
So from a teaming perspective, we're not a HUBZone company, but if I want to team with a HUBZone company and the HUBZone's a prime or a contractor or the subcontractor, how does that PEP affect our pricing? Does that reflect on the bottom line dollar amount, or is that just, what kind of complexities do you guys see with the teaming in regard to the 10% price evaluation preference?
Prime contractor, they would get the preference, but I mean, there's, you know, how that filters down to a subcontractor.
Do they really? Because that would have to go back to the government or SBA looking at the teaming agreement so that somebody's not just checking a box saying, look who's on my team. The teaming agreement would say, this is their swim lane, they will be dedicated to get X% of the work. Is that how it's worked for you?
It is, and most of the contracts we've seen that are HUBZone set aside are a 51-49 type of deal. So, you know, that HUBZone contractor needs to have, that swim lane needs to be 51%. You can have a team or another small big underneath you, but the requirement would be, typically we see a 51%. Just
Well, you're at 51 anyway because you're the prime. Is that what you're talking?
Right.
But when you're a sub, does that full and open prime or large unrestricted prime get credit for having you on the team?
Typically not, because there you go.
No, but I think you're mixing apples and oranges. This is saying that if a HUBZone is priming on a full and open competition.
Right.
No, I get the 10%. I do. I was just trying to think of whether or not there was any other credit for being, why would a full and open put a HUBZone on their team? Because they're not going to get credit for that unless that HUBZone offers the real value, right?
Because usually the RFP will ask for a small business subcontracting plan, and the RFP will ask for
3%.
a percentage either of the total contract value, which we've seen most recently, or a percentage of total subcontract value for each socioeconomic category.
Because I've, as much as I've seen those, I've seen other cases where it's gone into a proposal, but that was just to get through the gate.
Well, now what we're seeing on contracts is, yes, you put in your team, you put in the proposed subcontracting goals, but what, as is used to be in the past, but what we're seeing now is, as part of your past performance, for example, they're saying, give us 5 past performances. For each past performance, we want to see what you proposed for your small business goals and what you actually achieved. And they're evaluating whether or not you met your goals. So they're putting teeth into, your subcontracting plan, whereas before it's like, well, your best approach, your attempts. So now those companies that have in the past been good stewards and keeping their small business commitments, they're actually being rewarded for doing the right thing.
CPAR ratings also are.
It's in the CPARs now. So that's
one of the
why you should do
problems is also that for all of the IDIQ large contracts, the contract level requirement that's not flowed down to the task order level. So you have a problem where you have all these different task orders and you're not meeting your goals and you're not meeting your goals, and then it all flows up, all of a sudden your contract is not meeting the goals. It's unfortunate that it doesn't flow down to that task order level. Then you would have no trouble rolling it up,
But we're seeing more diligence on those IDIQs. Alliant, for example, the Alliant PM is asking on a quarterly basis, here's what you proposed in your contract, overall goals, roll up your task order, subcontracting requirements, and let us know whether or not you met it. Yes.
So in that regard, it would even be valuable to approach a large prime after they've won a contract, because if they're going to look at past performance, and work out those calculations, it could still be a benefit after the award. It doesn't even have to be with the award in the proposal, it can also be after the award. Does that make sense?
Only if they're not meeting, if they're feeling pressure.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that's the case because, you might bid with a certain team of companies, but by the time the contract gets awarded, some of the companies might have gone out of business, or they're no longer in that socioeconomic category, so it's time to refresh the team. Those are real life things that could happen, but for those companies that, it just happens. Some companies grow out of it, some of them get acquired, a lot of reasons why the team is no longer intact.
Right.
So those do present opportunities for somebody, a HUBZone or women-owned, to approach the winner and say, well, I can do that.
Well, by definition, HUBZone program was established to be a bootstrap, not a permanent position. It was really supported to give companies the opportunity, and in these economically areas, to build a business and build it beyond HUBZone, build it beyond small business. So, I don't see too many companies that have started HUBZone and stayed HUBZone or for the rest of their life if they were growing. We don't intend to be doing it forever, because I think if anybody gets successful to a certain point, it's hard to maintain your small business status, let alone, yeah, it would be. You're either a small business or not.
Are those PCRs geographically set up?
Yes.
They are? And where on the website do we find out?
You go there,
Yeah, just SBA's website, and I think they even have a search engine.
Yeah.
Search on PCR?
And it will give you the whole list.
Okay.
And also PTACs, which is your procurement, training, they're like a sort of business banking centers. And so you have those as well. You also have small business development centers, which are excellent. I know there's one here at George Mason. And they're really good with assisting you with the various programs too that we have at SBA. And for any startups, if they're need assistance with writing business plans, things of that nature, you can go into those centers and they will help you.
So I know in just working with a small business owner, we had these group cost sessions where we had the different government agencies come in and present on challenges that they feel small businesses face and things like that. One thing that keeps coming up is that these agencies are having a very difficult time meeting their goals for HUBZone. Is there anything that the SBA is doing to help with that? Is there anything you can do?
Again, we have the PCRs that are right there at the government agencies, but it's like anything else, it's them coming together with those agencies, coming to the table. And one thing I would really emphasize for companies that are HUBZone to knock on the door of the agencies that they're trying to do business with. Get to know the people at those agencies. And again, your procurement PCRs there and let them know what you're doing, even while you're waiting. Some businesses are waiting to get on the GSA. So, do that research and find out what's out there. They can tell you what contracts are scheduled to come out. And so you make the connection, because there's only so much we can do from our agency. It has to be the connection between our agency and other government agencies as well as the HUBZone businesses.
One thing I'll note, and my company is a software development consulting services firm, but to your point, one of the things we've seen is that in the agencies we work with, there's a prevailing thought that HUBZone companies typically aren't technical. They're typically manufacturing companies because of the areas that are typically HUBZone. So we've run into that where we've gone to our cores and we've gone to the acquisition offices and said, hey, we're HUBZone. This is something you can consider. And they said, oh, we've thought about it, but we just didn't think of it for this type of work. Oh, great, there's some of you out there. Let's have a conversation and a dialogue. So I agree 100%. I think we've run into at least 3 large agencies that have had that when we talked to folks, have strayed away from HUBZone because they just assumed that there weren't the appropriate capabilities out there to do the work. So just getting in front of them, capability statements, calls, really helps. So.
And even the procurement fairs of the various government agencies too. That's how we met Mr. Scott was at the State Department's procurement fair. So NASA does one every spring. They do like a large one. So when you hear of these events, I know it's hard when you're a business owner sometimes to give away and to participate, but even if you can't go, send someone there or find out who the contact person is that's hosting the event. Sometimes they will give you a list of the agencies that attended and the contact names of the individuals that represented those agencies. But again, it's getting out there and marketing your business and letting the agencies know that you're out there and what you can provide.
It also market the large businesses. Again, I'm the small business belly button for Circle. We're a large business, and we're one of the few companies that actually has met all of its small business subcontracting goals for each socioeconomic category.
Wow.
But that starts at the top. If the CEO doesn't care, then no one else is. But the flip side is true also. If the CEO cares, then a lot of things get done. And so one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll be having in-house tabletop fairs for small businesses, and we're going to do it by socioeconomic category. So we're going to start with SDVSBs, and again, we have a number of market segments, so it's going to be a combination of companies that we work with, with companies that want to work with us. And they'll get a chance to meet with our internal buyers, you know, the BD people, the operations people, and the contracts people. And we'll learn from the first one, and we'll do a next one probably on women-owned, and then HUBZone, and then 8As. So but in order to be considered, you know, you have to do what they said, and that is knock on some doors and let them know I'm out here. Because it's a big world, and sometimes people have short attention spans, so if the first call doesn't work, then call again, and again, and again, until they finally follow up.
Tell you to leave me alone
Tell-
or,
yeah.
or come on in here.
Do you have dates yet for that? For your fair?
I have quarters, so the first quarter, but between now and Thanksgiving, we'll be doing the SDSB, and then the next quarter.
How would we know about that? Is on the Serco website, or
No, there is.
I can give you my card and you can let me know?
Well, you go. Well, just send an email, smallbusiness@serco-na.com, and say, Daryl, consider my company. Or just go to our website and just go to About Us, and you'll see small business, and you'll see a link there just to follow up with me.
Okay.
Will they be held here?
No, they'll be at the Serco America's headquarters in Reston, Town Center.
Okay.
Actually, having it here might not be a bad idea. We'll see.
Do we have any like other large businesses here, or there are small businesses? Okay. Could we just go, you know, say your name so that we know who you are?
With KPMG.
What was it?
KPMG.
KPMG. Okay. Who else do we have? Can we start?
You just doing a roll call in general, or did you guys go through already?
Go around. No, yeah.
Okay.
You can go around and say you want. I would just like to know who's here. Yeah.
I'm Joe Dawson. I'm with Cambridge Global Advisors.
I'm Bruce Walter, and these are my colleagues who work for Deltec. So we're bigger, but we're not a government contractor, but we sell life cycle solutions for government contractors, everything from systems that help you be compliant to finding opportunities. And something that was said, you know, as we do research to try to find our new customers, right? And a lot of our customers are, you know, 1,000 employees or less in the government contracting space. But you look at the websites, and I suspect that people don't want to tip their hand to the competition, or, you know, if they do work for, you know, agencies where you don't want that information out there. But the websites are so rudimentary, it is impossible to differentiate what any of these small businesses do from each other. They all just have the buzzwords. So I don't know if it makes sense from the government buying side to, you know, have maybe some more specific information in the websites, but I find it's really of no value. It's just, you know, a name out there, and it's really hard to differentiate. I mean, things is no new news items for 2 years, right? The newest thing is 2012. Well, you know, if I'm going to knock on your door to try to sell you something, it doesn't lead me to believe that you're a very dynamic company. But then you get under the covers and they're winning business and they're doing all these creative things. So I guess it's a balancing act of how much information you want on your public website.
KPMG?
Yes, we're going.
Ambit?
My name is Cody Merck. I'm with the Ambit Group. We're a woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business in Reston.
Wayne Cummings, SciTech.
Kathy O'Day, Linker Technologies. We're currently in the application process to get
Okay.
our HUBZone.
What's the name of your company?
Linker Technologies, L-I-N-K-E-R.
Who are you working with? Are you working with somebody yet?
Who we're working with? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm going to talk to you afterwards.
Okay. That's good.
I'm Jennifer Shearer. I'm with Booz Allen Hamilton Engineering Services. We are an LLC subsidiary of Booz Allen, and we have several large IDIQs and are struggling to meet our goal percentages in a couple of areas. So we're looking to find, I'm just sort of a point of contact. I'm trying to flow information on companies and where our opportunities are and kind of hook them up together. So.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Warren. I'm with Quality Technology. We go by Q-Tech, and we're a woman-owned small business, and we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And I just celebrate my second anniversary here. Yay, and I love my job.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any other questions for us?
On the phone, online? No? All right. Well, I can't thank you enough, Cassandra, for coming out and sharing your wisdom as well as sharing the time of your very knowledgeable staff. And if there's any follow-up questions that you might have afterwards, make sure that Casey Harris gets them, and she'll make sure that we all get them answered in a timely manner. Thank you, everyone.
Also, if you'd like to volunteer or help with the small business clients, that would be great.